Welcome to Self-Education through self-exploration, self-discovery, and expression. My name is Courtney Brame, and I am navigating this recording right inside a building where there is just ongoing construction from even before the sun comes up to like sundown. They're just doing construction. So the alternatives are recording like 4 a.m., 5 a.m., or uh, the timing's just off. I don't really have options. I just have to work around it. But that's life. Life is just an ongoing series of working around things, right? So this is just an example of that. I decided that I was going to continue to give myself these weekly check-ins and just speak what's on my heart as a way of just assessing where I am in life. And this is real personal to me. And while I'm putting it out there to the world, this is my own vehicle of accountability. I don't really have people around me who will be on top of like, Courtney, you need to do this. No, I'm a grown ass man. I can do that myself. I know what I need. So this is a matter of me giving myself just that. This past week, I finished a couple of books. One of them was called, here we go, Restorative Yoga for Healing Racial and Ethnic Trauma. Wow, I hope that was it. But it's by Gail Parker. And then the other one is Healing Wholeness. I'm going to try to look, and hopefully this doesn't make too much noise on the podcast here. Hidden Wholeness by Parker J. Palmer. And then the other book was Restorative Yoga for Ethnic and Race-Based Stress and Trauma. That's what it was. Okay. And as I read both of these books, I saw so many parallels about how trauma in itself really just shapes our behavior. Like, it's as simple as that. That stuff that we perhaps go through life avoiding, examining, and looking at, that's what sort of dictates our life, whether we choose to navigate it consciously or try to avoid it. All of our actions are essentially rooted from a lot of just traumatic events, and these traumatic events tend to be parallel or some sort of representation of the trauma or of how we live our day-to-day life. And I'm constantly being validated with this. When I was in, I can't talk too much about this, but a project I'm participating in, I signed a non-disclosure agreement on. Something that came up was how people are viewed based on what we see on the surface level, what information they offer to us, but we don't see people, right? And what I mean by that is we can look at a person from one aspect of their lives. Like, let's say we have a coworker, someone who's a parent. We can look at what people post on social media the most consistently, whether it be as a business person, as someone who is really, really emotional or really engaged with politics or really passionate about a cause or in activism, advocacy. We can see that, and that becomes that person's identity to us. But the reality is, we can have small conversations, figure out what their day-to-day lives look like, and have a much more accurate and in-depth perception of who that person is. So I am actively making it a point to, when I converse with people, see what some of their fixed structures are. As the world opens back up, it's going to be a little bit awkward connecting with people. And notice I didn't say as this pandemic ends, I said as the world opens back up, because that's essentially what's been happening. If you look at those Southwest flight prices, those mugs back up to normal. They done quadrupled the price. I remember I could have gone to Cali and back for $40-$50 each way. And I tried to look at what it would have been to go to Hawaii. That was about a $600 trip now. And it wasn't like that early on. But just to give you an idea of where we are now, people are beginning to socialize again in public spaces. And so I now have developed, as a result of this pandemic, I'm going to give this credit because I have been more aware of how our mental health plays a role in our day-to-day interactions. We look at how we behave, and we trace that back to how we think, the words that we speak. We trace it back to how we feel. We trace it back to our beliefs. And when we trace those beliefs are essentially instilled in us by some sort of event, experiences, ongoing events and experiences from childhood. What was our routine growing up as kids? What was the routine that our parents had? What was instilled in us? How did they speak to each other and themselves? How did they behave toward each other and themselves? How did they behave toward us? That's where we get those values and belief systems instilled in us. And once we begin to navigate the world, we start to navigate the world from that particular lens. It's not our way of doing things. It's the way that we were shown to do things. And as you do go through your life and meet with other people and have different experiences, you kind of figure out what does and doesn't work for you. Or maybe you get called out for inconsistencies in what your behavior is versus what it is that you appear to want to do. And I'm so grateful for people like that in my life and around me who have questioned the inconsistencies in my life, because they allowed for me to examine where that comes from. And oftentimes it does go back to some sort of belief about shame or guilt that I've experienced at some point in my life, that the feelings were so intense that they burned into me. And now I avoid those feelings as best I can, or I pursue the opposite. So it's this juggle of extremes, so to speak. In my yoga teacher training, we had to do this exercise, and I did this before. The exercise was in Michelle Johnson's book, Skill in Action, and it's called Where Am I From? I remember she came here for the workshop when I first started my 200-hour teacher training last year before the pandemic started. And during that exercise, I remember freezing up, because it wasn't about where am I from in the sense of, oh, I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. It was where am I from as in this universe, this galaxy, this timeline, this your family, your environment, your home life, the emotions surrounding it. And when I got to the depth of my family and my emotions, I remember freezing up, going through where am I, or who am I, where am I from? And the more I asked myself, the deeper I got, to the point where I was stuck in however old I would have been when I was just barely tall enough to where I couldn't see over the couch. I remember standing in my living room just fucking frozen. And I remember the adult version of myself like looking at myself like that, as if that were me in that moment again. And I had to tell myself, hey, snap out of it. This is a memory. This isn't right now. This isn't reality. It's a memory. And I remember just feeling scared. Emotionally, I was constantly in fear. My mom, my granddad, they had to use that fear in order to keep me safe. If I was too afraid to take risks, if I was too afraid to run with the wrong crowds, if I was too scared to disobey them, then I'd be too afraid to disobey the law. I'd be too afraid of getting in trouble with gangs. I'd be too afraid of getting caught with illegal substances or having any of that in my body. So if it wasn't for that fear that they used to control me, then I wouldn't have possibly been alive today. Flat out. Like, that is the way that I had to be raised. So for a long time, I resented my parents. I resented my mom, my grandfather, for raising me to be afraid, because now that doesn't serve me anymore. And now I want to be adventurous. I want to go out there. I want to take initiative. I want to initiate things. I want to be assertive. And I really struggle with those internal belief systems that I have about it not being safe to take risks. So that exercise, we revisited that in it was over the weekend, my yoga teacher training class. And what I wrote down, because we had to fill in these blanks, what I wrote down, other people shared. I think I was one of two people who chose not to share, because that shit was intense. I grew up in an environment where I was told a lot of things weren't safe, and then I look up and here I am. I'm doing these things. I feel super disconnected from where I'm from because I don't match that. And part of the exercise, I wish I brought my notebook down here with me so that I could just read it. But there were things that I said in there that directly go against how I was raised and what my belief systems are. I was told, don't bring no white girls home. I date outside my race. I date within my race as well, but I that's something that I was told not to do. Don't get anybody pregnant. It was just basically, hey, don't have unsafe sex. Now here I am living with genital herpes. So I wasn't as safe as I could be sexually because I'm living with a sexually transmitted infection. And towards the end, like I look at how I was raised food wise. I don't eat that way. The fried fish, fried pork chops, fried this, fried that. I don't eat that way. And then I remember the last part. It was like my family is like and I am. And what came to mind immediately was, I'm disconnected. I'm a leaf that fell off of my family tree, blowing in the wind. There's no direction. There's no connectedness to my family because I am doing so many things that while they told me, stay in school, that was kind of all they gave me. And now navigating this on my own, like I can't go to them for help about what to do next, what career advice to take. And here I am now at a crossroads of a potential ton of different risks to take because, again, now opportunities are presenting themselves due to the fact that the world has, in fact, opened back up. So with all these opportunities, I've got, okay, I can take care of my needs through personal training. I'm a certified yoga instructor and I'm pursuing further education in that. I run a nonprofit. I host a podcast. I host 2 podcasts, actually. I'm a mental health advocate. I'm a sex positivity advocate and sexually transmitted infection education advocate. I'm all of these different things. And we're hitting this timeline or this winding down of time to where I am very soon like going to have to do something different in order to like take care of not just myself, but like what if I want to have a family? Like dating, I'm unable to seriously invest in long-term partnerships, relationships because I am financially insecure as fuck. I am not financially stable in any way, shape, or form. I managed to, thanks to the pandemic again, because they gave way more money to me. Like I have learned that I can survive off of $15,000 over the course of a year, thanks to COVID-19. Had it not been for the unemployment assistance that I got for being self-employed, and had I not made the choices to save what I could, invest what I could into my nonprofit, paying for people to get therapy, then I would have had to work somewhere. I don't know. I also sold my car. So now that's another insecurity on top of that even. And it's one that I hadn't thought of. But recently I realized just how much this was impacting me, thinking about this stuff. Thinking about how, it goes back to my views on success and how I was taught about money. All of these things really come to surface when looking at how I was raised and looking at where I'm at now, because these are different places. I'm in 2 different places. Like there's a conflict. There's an internal conflict out of this world within me of who I was raised to be and who I've become. And I realized too, I strongly avoid my family because of who I've become, because they may or may not approve of who I am. And it was a conversation with someone today that I was messaging with. Sarah, thank you for asking me how I am, because it was in your exchange with me that I recognized, the reason that family perhaps provides this discomfort or anxiety when we get around them is because there's an inner chaos. There's this inner challenging between our identities that they know us as and who we really are. So someone who perhaps goes away to college and goes out to the workforce and works far away and comes home from time to time, they're talked to by their family and friends who they have history with in a way that they only know to talk to that version of us. And for their comfort, we give them more of that than we do our true selves. And I recognize this when, talking to my friend here and having this dialogue exchange. It was like, that's what it is. We're accommodating for their comfort and their safety at the expense of our own comfort and safety with our self-expression. So whenever we do that, like, we're eating at our own souls. And so there's like the avoidance eats at our soul, and then the compliance eats at our soul. So at what point are we going to invite people to challenge their own discomfort? Because ours, as people who are living in who they are, if you're someone who's listening to this podcast and you're already into the self-education, self-development, and self-expression, right? So why is it that when we get around people we have history with, we revert back to who they view us as? That's their scope, not ours. We know who we are. Why can't we be who we are? I should be able to call my step grandmother up I haven't talked to in I don't even know how many years, and just be able to be myself. I should be able to call my granddad and be like, hey man, listen, I got herpes, and this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing with my nonprofit. Like, yes, I don't have a job, so to speak, but I have a vision. I have a dream. I'm executing the things and the steps that I need in order to get there. And regardless of what the challenges are, yeah, I'm not successful in your eyes, but I'm successful becoming successful by my own definition that I've created. So while these values and belief systems that you've instilled in me, the fear that was used to get me to a certain point in life, I wish that my family would have just told me, hey, I know what we taught you. I know what we did. I know what we said. And we recognize, like, you're a grown man now. Here, you have to, like, we got to cut the cord here. We did this because this is all we knew to get you to this point. You got to create the template, the blueprint for the next steps moving forward. So with other generations that I happen to come across, or if I were to have a family of my own, or to be a leader, a father figure, mentor to anyone else who finds their way into my space, in order for that to occur, in order for me to pick up the torch or extend generations' life to this point and beyond, I have to heal my own trauma. That's where I'm at. And I'm at this, again, crossroads between doing what I was told I was supposed to do and then being who the fuck I am. This is a very intense crossroads for me because it's easy to, I got 2 degrees. I'm educated. I've got all kinds of skills and experiences. Just like I don't want to settle in my relationships, I'm not going to settle in my career. You know, I'm not going to say I'll fucking be someone without a home or anything like that, or not work at all until the right opportunity comes along. But I recognize that in prioritizing the needs of my spirit, the body's needs are taken care of. And what I mean by that is, in my expression, in my existing in a way that feels right and truthful to me, without fear, without that fear, the more I begin to let go of that fear and just be myself, the more secure I feel in having shelter and having food and being able to have clean air and water. Clean air, that's funny. And having the air that's available to me. And then being able to work. Like, I may not have a job necessarily, but I've got a lot of opportunities out here in front of me. And this internalized fear that's been instilled in me keeps me sort of stuck on this hamster wheel of, okay, what if I do this? What if I do that? If I do this, then I can't do that. And I recognize that there are some instances where that's the case, but I've been adapting this abundant both and mindset. I can work as a personal trainer and go through a yoga teacher training to deepen my practice and understanding of this wonderful tool. I can also integrate that into my nonprofit organization, connecting people to mental health services, because there's also alternative health related resources that are available, including yoga practices and meditation that I am able to offer myself and alongside others. I can extend my sex education advocacy and seek out my own opportunities to get paid. I have a speaking event coming up in August. I got another speaking event. I have a workshop coming up in August. Both of these events are in August. And like, I hate that. I know that I've been anxious, because here's how I know when I'm anxious. I'm watching a lot more like porn, there's like more of an aggressive, the more aggressive categories of porn I'm watching. I'm masturbating a lot more, and sex has really been like the avoidance tactic that I used. And I had the opportunity of talking to my partner yesterday before we had sex, and I was like, "Hey, this is where I'm at. This is how I'm feeling," and I just got to vent. And after venting, I felt like we were able to really connect because I let that out in a way that normally I would have avoided. People ask me how I am all the time. I say, "Good. How about you?" Right? And I've made it a point for myself to attempt to offer up my genuine feelings, but that seems intense for people. And I hate when people ask me how I am, and then I tell them, and then that's it. The next time I talk to them, they're venting to me again. You know, it's very rare that I'm asked, "How are you?" and people mean it. Same thing, goes the other way around. Like I don't do that to people. But yeah, the way that my trauma has shown up has been not asking for help, being so damn independent and so just like needless. And that was something that my dad even confirmed for me when we had a conversation. I always wondered, like, hey, I got this thing about when I get excitement, I expect to be met with disappointment. He was like, "Oh, damn, son, it seemed like you didn't need anything." And when he said that, that really put it into perspective for me. And here it is now, playing out, even after my being aware of it and recognizing that, the only thing I need to do is be in my own truth. My perception of reality is how I am going to be met by the rest of the world. And if I continue to view the world from my trauma lens rather than my life experience lens and my creative lens, my abundant lens, I'm going to be stuck. I'm going to be stuck in that hamster wheel. I'm going to be stuck in the perception of others. I'll be stuck in the perception of others and what they believe about me. That ain't going to work. This doesn't work for me. I can't have this. I can't. So as I'm struggling most with patience right now because I have opportunities in front of me. I can get a job that will support my needs. Like I said, if I can live off $15,000 over a year, I'm balling off of a $40,000 a year salary. However, that's probably 12 hours a day where I have to work if we include getting back from work and time at lunch and the office. That's about 12 hours a day. Right now I'm at the gym for maybe 4 to 5 hours a day, Monday through Thursday, 3 hours on Friday, 1 hour on Saturday. I have free time to learn more about my yoga practice and deepen that. I'm able to make a lot of internal investments in myself right now. And I believe that once the clock winds down where decisions really need to be made, I'm going to be so much more prepared and I'm going to be able to make the best decision out there for me. And through my definition of success, I have been able to create processes, witness the progress made through those processes, and create these opportunities. There may be a whole new opportunity that is waiting at the end of my progression through my yoga teacher training, through my speaking engagements that I have coming up, through more podcast episodes that are going to be released. There is no telling what's being worked on for me right now. And I got to trust that shit. I got to trust that there is constantly this undercurrent of support that is just going on and on and on and on in the background. There's an undercurrent of support that is happening for me, and all I have to do is remain consistent, stay disciplined, be patient, continue doing what the fuck I'm doing. And this is the pep talk that I needed for myself. This is the pep talk that I need. It is a matter of self-trust because there is constantly an undercurrent of support happening that when the opportunity presents itself, I'll have so much clarity as a result of my progression and my continuing to pursue what this goal of success is, which is the creation of opportunities, that I'll have opportunities to choose from. None of them will be the wrong answer. None of them will be the wrong decision. I watched this anime. I finished it yesterday. I started it and finished it yesterday, actually, called Record of Ragnarok. And the overall premise is that the gods are they were gonna just end humanity. They got tired of our shit. They were just like, you know what? They're destroying the world. Like, they're gonna keep warring with each other. Let's just go down there and fuck them up. And a Valkyrie comes out, and she's like, well, why don't y'all just fight the humans? Like, let's have a tournament. 13 fights, 13 of the human strongest fighters versus 13 of the gods. And of course, we got our asses kicked, at least in the first two. But in the third one, what was interesting, there's interesting pieces of the fight in general. From the first fight, what I took away from that human was, that inspiration, how inspiring humans can be to one another. This man, the strongest man, we call him, was followed by an army to his death. He was killed by Thor, the god of thunder. And his army was like, you know what? We're going to follow our leader to death too. And that was something that was inspiring. People believe in someone so much that they will follow them to the end of whatever that is. I got people who believe in me, and I got to trust that. I ain't saying we going to jump off no goddamn bridge together, but y'all following me through the transitions that I'm making, through my own growth and development, through the opportunities that I create. Not just for myself, but also for other people. I'm being looked up to. I'm a leader. I'm a fucking hero to someone. And I have to honor that. Not just for them, but for myself, because this is how I identify. The second fight that was had was a lot closer. It was with Adam, from Adam and Eve, who was, all of the humans are gifted something to at least put them on par with the gods. But his move, Divine Reflection, he was able to copy the move of Zeus. He fought against Zeus, god of thunder, right? The god who killed his dad. And now, like, you got this parallel of, Zeus killed his father, Kronos, the Titan. Gods overthrew Titans. Here we are with humanity, with the potential to overthrow gods. Adam won the fight. And then Zeus got up, fixed his shit, and then he just outlasted Adam. But the thing about it was, Zeus killed his father out of rage and hate. Adam fought against Zeus to protect his children. So human beings are possible. It's possible for us to extend and go far beyond our limits. We can be stubborn. We have the endurance. We got the physical, mental, emotional endurance to far exceed any limitations placed on us by other people. We know what we are capable of, and it's on us to trust that and take our potential to its end. So Adam loses his fight to Zeus, obviously. Third match, some unknown samurai swordsman. He was called the failure. Whatever it was associated with failure. He always lost. Always. Didn't win shit. He perfected fighting, losing, and then replaying the fights in his head until he beat the other person, anticipating all their moves. He perfected this. He perfected losing. He took those failures, he took those losses, and in his mind, he went into solitude, he went into nature, and he was like, how can I do better? How can I be better? This was always what he asked himself. How can I beat these strong opponents? And he pursued strong opponents, knowing he would get his ass kicked. Got to a point where he was like, you know what? I surrender. And he'd take that, go out into nature, and watch how nature was. Watching how the snake eats the toad, and the fly eats of the flower, the toad eats the fly, the snake eats the toad, the hawk swoops in and carries off the snake and eats the snake that ate the toad, that ate the fly, that ate of the flower. This was where he did his training. He didn't train in the dojo. He didn't follow the standard route. He went his own route, and he learned from nature. How much more is there to learn from just nature, life experiences, people's experiences in the animals' experiences in the wild? And you know what happened with this man who never won a fight? He beat Poseidon. This is the god that everybody was afraid of. Like one kill shot. Like he'd kill you instantly. But this man who lost everything, lost in every battle, perfected his craft of losing, of anticipating victory. And he was able to win. The ultimate failure, the guy who was the ultimate mess up. He failed consistently, continuously, just fail. Shows up in round 3, and he's the only human who beat a god. That says a lot about humans' potential. It says a lot about humanity. It says a lot about our parallels and differences between God and man. The parallels and similarities between man and nature, God and nature, the cosmos, the universe, and nature. Human nature, our intention. You know, the first guy he just wanted to fight the strongest people. The second guy, Adam, he wanted to protect his children, all of humanity. That's why he fought. Third guy, he fought because he fought just like, I don't remember exactly what his intention was, man, but the way that he won, he realized that undercurrent of support, all of his experiences, they stuck with him. All of those failures were lessons. Each and every one of those times that the fight didn't go, the way that, obviously he would have wanted to win, but that wasn't his intention. His intention was to fail. He intended to fail. What happens if we intend to fail? We take the lessons of that failure. We go back to the drawing board and we replay in our mind, all right, I failed. What can I do next time? And then at that point, you're able to even anticipate the movements of your opponent. Your opponent may not be a person with a sword or a gun or a fight. It may not even be some competitor in sports. Your ultimate competitor is you. In what ways have you failed yourself? In what ways have you defeated yourself? Been defeated by yourself? What can you take away from these lessons? And when you go out there and you face these obstacles in life and you fail, you surrender, you give up, what happens if you sit with those failures and meditate on them? Okay, what if it went this way? What if it went that way? All right, next time life brings this at me, I'm going to counter it with that. I'm going to be proactive in my attack on it with this. There's so much that I've learned from anime. There's a lot. There's a ton of lessons in anime. There was a ton of lessons in these books that I've read. Just learning about, again, our trauma. Even with these characters, they highlighted a traumatic event and how that guided them to the point where they were in their existence. What drove them? That was really, really good. I needed this. I think I need this. I need this every week. I might need this more often than once a week. But what this offers for me is an opportunity to build trust with myself, build trust within myself. Because that has been my biggest struggle, because I for so long relied on the fear instilled within me as a way of remaining safe. And safety does not cut it for me anymore. It's time for me to take risks. It's time for me to fail. It's time for me to get rejected. It's time for me to take from these rejections and learn from it. It's time for me to seek out rejection. I intend to fail because I intend to succeed. And that's what I'm going to do. I am going to succeed because I'm intending to fail. With those failures, I'm going to get those lessons. I'm going to be able to combat future opportunities that I create with more diversity, with more lived experiences to counter whatever it is that's thrown at me from these opportunities. That's what's about to happen. Yeah. I feel it. I feel good about this. I feel excited, and the disappointment isn't there. So this is a good sign. This is a good place to stop this recording as well. Thank you for listening if you made the time, and if this is me looking back on this very day, remember this pep talk, remember that anime, remember the swordsman who always lost. That's me today. That's what I'm tapping into. I'm tapping into this new intention. The intention to fail. Thanks for listening.